Welcome to Tough Times, Tougher Farmers, helping you rise to the challenge. This session is dedicated to giving you the big picture on what's happening in the world of agriculture from the people with the broadest perspective, the U.S. Department of Agriculture. We'll start the session with a brief welcome from Secretary Sonny Perdue, U.S. Secretary of Agriculture. He is a veterinarian, businessman, and politician who served as the governor of Georgia from 2003 to 2011. He will be followed immediately by Bill Ashton, Military Veterans Agricultural Liaison for the USDA. Bill is a Navy veteran and a longtime friend to the Farmer Veteran Coalition.
My vision for the Department of Agriculture in the United States of America is to be the best run, the best managed, the best regarded agency in this country with the best reputation. Can we do that? I believe we can. Y'all need to know I was a farmer first, and we're gonna get comfortable in working clothes, okay?
Get the word out about veterans and agriculture and helping people to transition back to the real world. It's a good feeling to get recognized for our service and so forth.
Ag basically affects everybody worldwide. Without agriculture, you don't eat.
One of our main desires was to be able to raise our kids kind of the way that we grew up in a rural community. And
the skill sets that these veterans bring from their disciplines in the military are valuable assets there, and we need them in agriculture.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. I am Bill Ashton, the Military Veteran Agriculture Liaison here at the Department of Agriculture. And I would like to just start off to say that video by the Secretary really is impressive. I will tell you, he's the real deal. As mentioned, he was a farmer, he's a veterinarian, he was the governor of Georgia, and he's a veteran. And I just think it's great working here and working for Secretary Perdue. To Michael, thank you. Thank you so much for when I first came on board 2.5 years ago. And for this city slicker born and raised in New York City, who had no idea where milk came from because the bottles used to be dropped off in front of our house. You taught me so much about agriculture that I can actually talk some of the lingo. And your guidance and your friendship means a lot to me. Jeanette, this is not the first time you and me are working together as of today. We've been working right when you came on board, and I look forward to working with you and the Farmer Veteran Coalition. Before I go any further, I do want to say a happy belated birthday to the United States Marine Corps on November 10th, and a happy belated Veterans Day to all our veterans. Times said earlier that this is different. I'm not sure I'm getting used to doing WebEx, Zoom, Teams all the time. But this is different, and I will tell you that I do miss being in person with all of you. I've always enjoyed going to the Veteran Farmer Coalition and the camaraderie with the veterans. So I want to give you some updates of what we're doing at the headquarters portion. I do want to talk just a little about, a lot of times people say, what do you do for veterans and what does the Department of Agriculture do? When I first got here, I had no clue how big the Department of Agriculture was. And so just to give you an idea, and I actually have some notes here. In fiscal year 19, the Department of Agriculture Farm Service Agency, and this is just to veterans, put $83 million in direct loans to veterans and $66 million in guaranteed loans. Unfortunately, I don't have the FY21s. You will hear from my colleagues, Brent Oland and Sarah Campbell here shortly, but some of the programs that we have going on, Brent will talk about the AgVets program. We also have the 2501 program that you should be aware of for socially disadvantaged and veterans. Not sure how many people are familiar with the DoD Skill Bridge program. This is a program that the DoD established to help transitioning veterans when they're leaving the service, that they can actually leave their place of duty up to 6 months and work and be trained in areas that they have interest in. So if anybody's interested in that particular program, my email address is available, but it's pretty easy. It's bill.ashton@usda.gov. There's one other piece here that I'd like to mention also, and it was kind of hot off the press. I found out about it this morning, and I don't know if my dear friend Michael Reynolds is on, but there's always been talk about this surplus property for veterans. Well, that has pretty much come to fruition, and on December 3rd, there's a public meeting about surplus property for veterans. If you're not aware of that, that's the government selling surplus products, and that can include anywhere from dump trucks to pickup trucks to Jeeps to any kind of equipment that's out there. So I did ask the Farmer Veteran Coalition to make that letter available to everyone, and you just dial into the public hearing so you can hear more about it. As I mentioned, the AgVets and the 2501, and you'll hear from another colleague of mine, Sarah Campbell, who is the national director of the New and Beginning Farmer Ranches. And I will tell you that the work that I've been involved with Sarah and her team throughout the United States has been nothing less than outstanding. Every time we have to reach out to her or one of her people in the state, they pretty much turn things around within 24 to 48 hours, and I truly appreciate that. One of the other things that I'm working on is food insecurity for veterans. One of the things that came up in a congressional hearing was, does USDA and the Veterans Health Administration work together to take care of veterans insecurity? At that time, the answer was no, but in the background, we had been working on it. So we put a working group together, and hopefully here shortly, we'll have something on it. But what it is making veterans to be knowledgeable on SNAP, the old food stamps. And so we're working hard with that one there. Unemployment in veterans, in FY18, USDA hired 1,900 veterans within our organization throughout the United States. And last year, we hired over 2,000 veterans. And one of the last things I'll say is I did mention I was the military veteran agriculture liaison, and I can give a lot of thanks to Michael about that, because that was congressionally mandated. And so no matter what happens on January 20th, whoever takes over as the president of the United States, I'm not going anywhere. I am a permanent government employee. I am not a political appointee, so I will continue to be in my job. But since then, I have been assigned to the strategic initiatives of the Office of Partnership and Public Engagement. And so what I oversee now is not only the Military Veteran Agriculture Liaison Group, but I also oversee youth programs, some of them like 4-H, the Future Farmers of America. I'm also responsible for the faith-based and neighborhood initiatives and the special initiatives that cover things like the Asian Pacific Islanders, Women in Ag, and New and Beginning Farmers Advisory Council. I think I pretty much covered what I wanted to say. I know they were hoping that I could go on for at least 20 minutes, but I do want to say I truly appreciate everything that you all do out there. You know, in the video there, it's sort of, I have a sticker on my door at work, which by the way, I haven't been to since March, but the sticker says, you know, no farmer, no food. And it's been a privilege for me to be able to go out and speak at different events that deal with farmer veterans, and it's just amazing what I've learned over the time. You know, I know what a hoop house is. I know what a high tunnel is. So those are some of the buzzwords. One of the things I will say, and I know Sarah will talk about her organization and how they can help, but when I go out and I talk to everybody, I say the first thing you need to do is if you have any issues, you need to go to the local USDA office and see if you can resolve anything there. I'm always available. We had some issues recently on the CFAT program. I know there's a lot of programs coming out because of COVID-19, and we're doing our best to get them out. There's been over 110 million boxes of the farmer to family food box program. And so I know there's a lot of stuff out there, and I'm hoping that the information that I send out on a weekly basis helps you be aware of all the things that USDA is doing. So with that, I don't think I have anything else to say. So look forward to working with you all throughout the year. Thank you.
Hi,
The
everyone.
next speaker.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry. Just go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and introduce you. The next speaker is Sarah Campbell, National Coordinator for the USDA Beginning Farmer and Rancher Program. She will be talking about USDA's Beginner Farmer and Rancher Program. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Campbell. So nice to be joining you all here today. And thank you, Bill, for your generous introduction. I've actually got a couple of slides, so I'm just going to share my screen. Oh, maybe not. But anyways, I will get started. I'm just really excited to be here today and to be joining you all at this conference. And I know the virtual setting can be a little bit challenging, but hopefully we'll be able to reach more of you. And I'm happy to be streaming into your living rooms and offices, or maybe you're out on the farm, out on the fly. So thanks again for having me. I'm the Beginning Farmer and Rancher Program Coordinator here at USDA. So I do what I call everything and anything beginning farmers and ranchers. Oh, now my screen share is working. Excellent. And I help lead and coordinate our team here at USDA, who work really closely with our farmers and ranchers on the ground and our field staff who work with folks. So I'm just going to get started. But what I'm going to talk about today is how to get started with USDA, as well as go over some of the resources that we have for beginning farmers and ranchers. I understand that kind of wherever you are in your journey as a new farmer, maybe you are truly a beginning farmer, or you're coming back to a family farm, you're transitioning out of a second career, you're transitioning out of the military, or maybe you're a more experienced farmer and you want to add an enterprise or do something new. There's a ton of resources and just so much information to navigate. And the USDA sort of program web can be a little bit overwhelming. So I want to talk to you about a couple of tools and resources that we have that can help you find the right program for you. And one of those is a new initiative that Bill mentioned, and it's our Beginning Farmer State Coordinator. So every state now has a Beginning Farmer and Rancher Coordinator, and these folks, it is part of their job to help you navigate USDA. So they are in your corner. And what they can do is connect you to your local office. They can make recommendations for programs, or if you're not program ready, or you're still trying to figure out what you want to do, they can connect you to other local resources that might not necessarily be USDA, but another service provider, whether it be extension or a farm conference. But really, my message today is to build your bench and get connected. We want you connected with those beginning farmer coordinators. We want you connected with your local office. So Those are called service centers at USDA. We have over 2,000 physical offices across the country, and that's where our staff are. And they are there to serve you, to help you apply for programs and enroll. Every single county and territory is served by a service center. At those offices, you can connect with our Farm Service Agency staff or NRCS. They're often co-located, but sometimes not always. And you can go to farmers.gov to find your local office. They have a local sort of office tool that'll pull up phone numbers and important information. And you can also visit farmers.gov/new farmers, and that will help you navigate to our list of coordinators. So they are all online, they've got their emails, their phone numbers. Please reach out to them and get connected to those folks. A couple of tips in working with our local office. This is really about communication. So get connected with that beginning farmer coordinator, get connected with those local staff. As you get started on your farm journey, you want to be building your bench, putting together the team of people in your corner, and that includes your local USDA staff. So make sure you're developing a relationship with your local lenders, whether be they a commercial banker or an FSA loan officer, working with our program technicians, our soil conservationists. All of these folks are here to work with you, and you want to stay in contact with them. So, when you come work with us at USDA, this isn't a one and done thing. We want you to keep talking to us. So make sure that you stay in contact with that local office. If anything changes in your farm or operation, let them know. If you add an enterprise or change how you market something, start growing a new crop, stop growing a crop, keep in touch with that local office because they're going to make recommendations and reach out to you if there's a natural disaster. And if they know what's happening at your farm, they can anticipate your needs and make more useful recommendations. Also recommend that if you're currently farming, that you get a farm number. So this is like a USDA ID number. You need it to apply for and enroll in programs. So if you're currently farming, you don't have a farm number, get down to that local office or reach out to them and make sure that you get a farm number. Now, we're all here virtually doing this in Zoom. And I want you to know that at USDA, we are also doing a lot of our work virtually, but we do have some things in place to help you. All of our offices are open for business, but with the current pandemic, they may be open by appointment only. They might be having set up a drop box. Folks can now apply for programs online. We are coming up with ways to do digital signatures or make it easier for folks to fill out paperwork, not physically there in the office. So just make sure before you go to a local office that you call ahead and that you make an appointment. And you can go to farmers.gov/coronavirus to learn the status of your local office and get the important information on how to schedule an appointment. So I would just also want to talk a little bit about FSA and what we've got to offer. Today, I'm going to talk about a couple of different agencies, and I know a number of my colleagues are going to be speaking in more detail about the programs that we have. So FSA, this is the Farm Service Agency, and I think of it as having two sides of the house. We've got farm programs and farm loans. So our loans are working capital financing, whether it's an ownership loan, an operating loan, microloan. They have a lot of different loans. We also offer guarantees. With farm programs, we have a whole suite of resources that are meant to help you manage your risk. So we have disaster assistance programs where we're issuing program payments in the event of a natural disaster, or like right now with the economic sort of catastrophe and challenges that producers are facing. There's the organic cost share program where you can get reimbursed to help offset the cost of organic certification. We have conservation programs, emergency loans, as well as a farm storage facility loan. So if you are in need of disaster assistance or working capital, you're going to want to work with the Farm Service Agency. I'm not going to talk in too much detail. Like I said, Rick Lopez, who's one of our regional beginning farmer and rancher coordinators, is going to be speaking later and doing a workshop on farm loans. So I encourage you to join that session so you can learn more about our loan programs. And for farm programs, this is also where it's really important to have a relationship with your local office. We want to make sure that you are getting any assistance that you need. I always tell folks, if you've got a loss, call your local office. There's really something for everyone. And I also want to point out that as a beginning farmer or a veterans farmer or a historically underserved farmer, some of our programs have some incentives, whether they be targeted funds or waived administrative fees, priority points, or an increased cost share. So make sure that your local office knows that you're a beginning farmer and that you are a veteran farmer as well. So I want to talk to you also a little bit about NRCS. Maybe folks don't always think about conservation as a risk management tool, but it absolutely is. I'm trying to just figure out how to turn off my alerts here. Folks keep messaging me. Anyways, sorry. So we've got NRCS. They've got a wide array of programs, whether it's just helping you with conservation planning. They can help come up with a conservation activity plan, or if you have an environmental hazard or risk on your farm, you can work with NRCS. They bring folks out to your farm, your operation, and you can get help one-on-one in person on your farm. They also have cost share programs for some of these conservation practices, or if you have an environmental issue, you can get some financial assistance in addressing that or mitigating it. And they also have the high tunnel program. This is how a lot of folks know about NRCS. I call this program kind of the gateway because they offer cost share program for a high tunnel and season extension. One of my colleagues is also going to be doing a workshop later today on risk management, Kara McNabb, and she will be talking to you about crop insurance and some of the other risk management tools that we have here at USDA. So I'm not going to go into that too much, but just want folks to be aware that there are a whole array of resources. You can contact your local office to get a list of crop insurance providers. So those approved insurance providers are the folks who are selling and servicing policies that are underwritten by USDA. Rural development is a lot like the Farm Service Agency in some ways with regards to our lending, except their focus is on home ownership and rural businesses. So they have home ownership programs for construction or purchases of homes in rural areas. They have direct and guaranteed loan programs for rural businesses. And then they also have a couple of programs for farmers and ranchers. They have the value added producer grant. So this is for producers who are wanting to get into value added production. So maybe you're growing fruit and you want to start making jam and selling jam, or want to start finishing and marketing your own beef, like some of the veterans and some of the great videos we saw are doing. They can help you with that, and they have cost share. We also have a renewable energy program. So if folks want to make energy efficiency improvements on their farm, like updating a poultry house or installing LED lighting, there's some cost share programs available for that. And last but not least, I just want to make sure folks are aware of all of the tools and the resources that we have to help you, particularly now during the pandemic. Our agencies do have some program flexibilities that you can leverage. So if you're currently participating in a program with NRCS or FSA and you're not going to be able to make a payment or complete a project on time, talk to that local office. They may have some flexibilities there. They might be able to push timelines. We have debt set aside. There's a lot of different tools that our staff have in our toolbox. You just need to be talking to that local office. So like everyone's been saying, this is really about relationships and people. Make sure that you are communicating what's happening with your operation and talking to those folks so they can help you, because they're in your corner and we want you to succeed. We've implemented a number of flexibilities in terms of our ability to accept signatures or how we're doing businesses and visits to farms to keep people safe. And last but not least, we also have CFAP, and this is the Coronavirus Food Assistance Program. So this program is being run by the Farm Service Agency, and it's designed to help producers as they weather the challenges of the pandemic. We know that this has been financially very difficult for a lot of farmers and ranchers. And so FSA is offering payments to producers. There's a whole variety of crops that are eligible for payments. Livestock, dairy, specialty crops, row crops. There's a really exhaustive list. And we also have a tool on farmers.gov/CFAP where you can go in and type in the crops and see what they're eligible and what those payment rates are. And there's a payment calculator that you can use. So if you are currently farming and you have not applied for CFAP, I encourage you to reach out to your local office and ask them about that and play with that payment calculator tool and see if it's something that might be able to assist you. And also, we're talking about building your bench here and all the folks in your corner. USDA also partnered with SCORE. So if you visit score.org/USDA, you can learn more, but you can sign up for a mentor. You can sign up to be a mentor. Really, we want to see folks taking advantage of this. So please check that out if that's something that you're interested in and you're looking for more guidance in your operation, or if you have skills and knowledge that you can share. Having a mentor is really important, and it can even go a long way or help you in terms of loan eligibility. So check that out if that's something that you're interested in. And I will be online today and tomorrow. You'll be able to message me. I'm happy to take questions or direct folks to resources, but really just encourage you to reach out to those local coordinators and our staff, and want you to know that we're here for you. We've got a lot of resources, no matter what type of farmer you are, where you are in your journey, how big or how small. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Sarah, for providing that information for us. Good morning or afternoon, everyone. My name is Isa Marie McIntyre. I am a veteran service provider here at FEC, and I've been very fortunate to work closely with our next speaker, Brent Elrod, who serves as National Program Leader for USDA's National Institute of Food and Agriculture. Brent will be speaking to us about the Enhancing Agricultural Opportunities for Military Veterans grant, also known as AgVets. FEC was fortunate enough to receive the AgVets grant in 2018, which has allowed us to support veterans through the Beginning Farm and Ranch Management Apprenticeship Program in partnership with the Center for Land-Based Learning. Good morning, Brent.
Good morning, Issa, and thank you. If folks can let me know if they're seeing the slides.
We can see them.
All right, very good. Greetings, Brent Elrod here. Thanks very much, Issa. Thanks, Farmer Veteran Coalition. And thank you to our veteran farmers who are online. It looks like our participant numbers are approaching 300, and I know folks are popping in and out based upon what they've got to do out in the field, what they got to do behind the desk, because we know that farming is a business. So we're grateful again for our veterans service, and thank you to my colleagues who helped with the lead in today, Sarah, Bill Ashton, great work, and really part of a larger team across the entire U.S. Department of Agriculture that are looking to ensure that our programs are reaching the broadest audience, and knowing that we have a great need to develop new ranchers, farmers, producers, employees, all the way along the food supply chain. It's kind of what we are all engaged around, and anything that we can do to help ensure that you have access to our programs, feel free to reach out to any of us directly, and it can be a very large bureaucracy. We'll help you navigate and get to the places that you need. So just a few things that you are quite well aware of, because you are these people. You're part of the 4 million veterans living in rural America. You're a large increasing percentage of the women and minorities that are also across rural that are military veterans. We know many of you have experienced injuries as a result of your service, and that you also are looking for that next mission in life. So many of you identified agriculture, food production, food and ag sciences as areas of interest for you. And certainly what we've been able to demonstrate and under the leadership of Farmer Veteran Coalition and the partners across federal government is that we are looking to support those opportunities to grow. So just a couple slides there following up Sarah. One of the most important things that I'd like to lead off with is how do you connect at the local level? I'm hoping these slides will be able to be made available for you after the conference, so that there's potentially through the website for you to be able to access these. These are hyperlinks, so you can Just click on the links to get directly to it. But that'll help you find the field service site for the USDA field agencies there at the local level. And like that, our partners are the state land grant universities and the Cooperative Extension Service. And here's the link for the map that's at our website. You basically go to find your state, click on it to drill down. You can find the Cooperative Extension Service office at your county level directly through this site. So it's important to let the folks know at the local level who you are, what your interests are, and they can sometimes help connect you immediately to those resources that can help you move forward with your operation. I'm going to talk a little bit specifically about the agency that I work for, the National Institute of Food and Agriculture. We have a long-standing history of working with military partners, approaching 40 years now, and that includes working with military youth. Many folks may not be aware that the Cooperative Extension Service helps develop 4-H clubs that support military youth, not only within the U.S., but also internationally as well, so that the family members, the youth of those service members across almost all branches have opportunities to engage in positive youth development at the local level while their family members serve. It also includes geographically dispersed, so youth of Guard and Reserve families as well. My colleagues at NIFA that support the youth programming are Dr. Bonita Williams and Chris Petty. Their emails are there. So again, if you've got young people that you're looking to engage in opportunities across 4-H, these would be contacts for you to reach out to. Similarly, we've got a large number of projects that we administer in partnership with the Department of Defense, Army, Air Force, Navy. You see those listed there on the screen. I'm not going to read those for you. Again, these are hyperlinked, but our role here is to bring the expertise of the land grant university system and cooperative extension to support military helping professionals that are supporting military families and service members across all branches. We have a memorandum of understanding with the Department of Defense with USDA that kind of is our overarching guiding principle. And then we work again with our universities to identify that expertise to help ensure that we're building the evidence base, the really good practices that are supporting military families, service members during, post, and after deployment. Farmer Veteran Coalition has been a big leader that's helped to spur the work of USDA beyond some of the initial efforts that we had in conjunction with active duty Guard and Reserve families. There's just a few photos from activities over the year where Michael has been to our agency, helped raising awareness with our leadership, where he's helped to organize obviously the panels at Farmer Veteran Coalition so we can share the good news of what USDA is doing and also to receive that engagement with you to hear what we could be doing better and what are the areas of greatest need. And then that bottom corner there, you might be able to make out some of the folks. That's one of the fly-ins that Farm Credit under Gary Madison's leadership, along with Michael with FEC and Homegrown by Heroes, have come to Washington, D.C. to meet with USDA leadership. I think you can see Bill Ashton sitting on the front row of that picture, our Deputy Secretary Sinsky before he moved back to Indiana, right at the center of that photo. So again, reaching the highest levels of USDA leadership ensures that your voice resonates and that then echoes back down to those of us at the agency level, the field level, to ensure that we're doing the best we can in order to meet your particular needs. But it's key, you know, one of the pieces here, and I think if I can leave you with one message today, is that make your voice heard. Let us know what your needs are, the challenges that you're experiencing, navigating the bureaucracies at the local, state, and national level. And then again, what can we be doing with Congress to ensure then that your needs are being lifted up? So that's where that advocacy, that engagement with your local members of Congress, your state officials, your national officials can help ensure then that we're directed as a part of the federal government to meet those needs. So I'm going to talk now about some of those advances as a result of our engagement with FEC and others that are taking lead roles in promoting veteran issues in agriculture. It goes back to way Michael mentioned that meeting with the Coalition of Iraq and Afghan veterans in his opening back to 2010 when he engaged us with USDA and other federal agencies and kind of presented some of the challenges. Well, since that, we got to work, and a lot of these programs have resulted since that time. Others have been enhanced because of the recognition that we could be doing more to support our military veterans and their interest in ag. So our agency, we're the extramural funding arm for the Department of Agriculture. So what that means is we provide grants, federal assistance to support entities, universities, academics, non-governmental organizations, small businesses to move forward based upon specific topic areas. So we do that through research and also through outreach, or what we also call extension, and also education. And so there I've listed our flagship competitive grant program is AFRI, the Agricultural Food Research Initiatives. You'll see that we have supported a research effort there to support what we're calling veterepreneurs. And then our outreach and education efforts are many and varied and growing. I've listed them there, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about each of them. And I got a few dedicated slides that will demonstrate that. So this first one is about AgriBility. You see AgriBility is one of the sponsors of the conference. Certainly visit them in exhibit hall. They are partners on a number of projects across the states that are supporting military veterans. And their goal is to provide assistive technology that's going to help keep farmers and ranchers doing what they love. And there's a national AgriBility project that's based at Purdue University. And then we currently have 28 state and regional projects out there. And so these are also hyperlinked. They'll get you connected to the individuals at the state and local level. And oftentimes it's a land-grant university that's working in partnership with a non-governmental organization. And you see there to the right that photo of Kane Lewis. And in that particular instance, AgriBility Ohio is working with Easter Seals serving Greater Cincinnati. And I chose that picture not because Kane is a veteran, but because Kane is my cousin. And Kane suffered a horrific accident a year ago where it left him paralyzed for life. And all of a sudden, professional runs into personal, and he's benefiting from one of my agency's programs, again, at the state and local level to keep him doing what he does, managing the family corn and soybean farm along the banks of the Scioto River in southern Ohio. Brad Ryan and Leland Dixon are your AgriBility contacts at NIFA, and feel free to reach out to them directly, as well as the state and national reps. One of our other key projects, programs that we administer is Beginning Farmer Rancher Development Program. And so it's administered by Drs. Dennis Ebadagi and Desiree Rucker at our agency. I know at least Desiree is tuned in today as a participant. She's done fabulous work to help, again, raise the profile, because as a result of the outreach that many of you have done, it led to changes in the legislation that supports the BFRDB program to include at least 5% of the funds being set aside to projects that are going to target military veterans who are interested in ranching, farming with less than 10 years experience on that farm or ranch. So they exceed that on an annual basis, that percentage. And I've got a list subsequently of where those programs are, so you can take a look on a map basis here in the next slide. But they're also working on their fiscal year 21 request for application for the program, and it's tentatively scheduled to be released in mid-December. Grants.gov is where you want to set your filters to get announcements about that, or reach out to Dennis or Desiree to get on their list so that you're included when the RFA is released. When it comes out, sometimes 30, 45, 60 days to put your proposals together to come back in for those projects. So this next slide is a little busy one. It's the logic model for the BFRDB program, and I'm not going to talk through it, but really, the key piece there is to look towards that right side and the outcomes. What these programs tend to offer are these opportunities to, again, make sure that veterans that are interested in farming ranch have the skills, support, connections, resources that they need in order to become successful in their production. Here's the map that looks at the projects funded since 2014 that have a veteran serving component. I'm not going to read through those, but you can kind of identify your state and the listing that coincides, and then also look at all those states that don't have BFRDP veteran projects. And if you're in one of those states, consider looking at that RFA when it comes out with a coalition about potentially submitting an application to that. There's another way that you can also help out to kind of learn is to volunteer to be a peer reviewer. And that's true for many of our programs. And you can do that by sending your CV, your resume to the program specialist or the program leaders responsible for those programs. And then you can come in and help us identify the best programs to make those awards. It's a great way to learn more about the process and also increase your own chances of being able to put together successful applications to our programs. I want to talk about the Farm and Ranch Stress Assistance Network very briefly. This is new funding that came out as a result of the 2018 Farm Bill. We know, and it's you know it as well as any of us, that working on the farm and ranch is one of the most challenging occupations while also being one of the most rewarding. But in those challenges, if you catch lightning in a bottle and you get disasters on top of weak commodity prices on top of a pandemic, it could also stretch folks to the breaking point. And we want to make sure that producers and their family members are connected to services and support when they need them that will help them ensure that they can come back and build that resilience to do it another day and get to those rewards. And so we have stood up this network over the last couple years. And these are the 4 programs that received awards for the next 3 years to build out this network of support system across all 12 or 13 states in each of those respective regions for West, North Central, Northeast, and South. Those are the contact folks, and they can put you in contact potentially with those resources that are being built out on the state level. This is just being stood up, so but the key thing is that these are in place for the next 3 years, and you should definitely know who the contacts are at the regional level, and then they'll be able to help you connect further down to the state level. Because what we want to make sure is that any producer, any family member that's experiencing stress, that's getting to the point where they're at risk of harm to self or others, before they ever reach that breaking point, that they are connected to the services and supports that they're going to benefit from to build that resilience, build that capacity, build those strengths to be able to come out and succeed. I'm going to talk now and lead into our announcement of the fiscal year 20 award winners for the Enhancing Agricultural Opportunities for Military Veterans program. Again, this is one that has occurred since Michael ran up the flagpole and said, USDA, you need to be doing more. And it also shows again how individual advocates can make all the difference in the world. So on the one hand, we're working from the agency level to increase the opportunities. And then on the other, individuals like that picture there on your screen, Gary LaGrange from here in Kansas, walks into Senator Moran's office and says, I want support to be able to develop a training center for veterans in the great state of Kansas. And lo and behold, that leads to the start of funding that becomes the AgVets program. And you see there on your screen what started out as an idea, a need, person speaking up, getting the right ears, leading to a program now that's resulted in almost $20 million in funding being released to programs dedicated to supporting and engaging military veterans in agricultural pursuits. And that's anywhere across the food supply chain. So we couldn't be more proud and also more grateful to folks like Gary and you for being those voices, having those voices heard to be able to lead then to the great work that's being led. So you see there, we had 12 projects funded between fiscal year and 18-19. We doubled that, well, almost tripled it, with 17 projects here in fiscal year 20. We also have the announcement out on the street right now for fiscal year 21. This is also going to be tied to, again, Congress continuing to make the funds available, but we are out to bid in anticipation that that will occur. And so as a result, now's the time to be working on those proposals to be able to submit here to the cycle. The folks that have received projects previously are ineligible unless they're in their final year of service. So technically, that means the window is open for you to put together a strong application to potentially come in this next cycle. And we encourage you to reach out to myself, Dr. Crystal Kyle, who assists me with these programs and is also likely attending today, so that we can respond and let you know more about this particular program. But what it is again, decide to provide immersive training education experiences to create those career opportunities for military veterans. And Gary, as we talked about previously, led the Save Farm. He's moved into retirement, and he's been succeeded by Craig Bowser. And Craig is helping to lead that regional farm training center, where their goal is to train at least 100 students per year to the journeyman level, and then place those students on succession farms or on their own startups. They've got core sites that they're working with. And this is an example that I just wanted to provide that's similar to the other AgVets projects. And so you're going to get a chance to see who those are. We've got another map for you, and know who you can reach out again to at the state and local level if you are interested in potentially participating as a trainee, potentially being engaged with them in some other fashion. You see, they've got multiple diversified operation across a number of farms. And Craig shared yesterday when we held our project directors meeting in conjunction with the Farmer Veteran Coalition Conference, as we've done the last several years since the project's gotten underway, to say that they had a successful veteran complete the program who's now been able to buy land nearby and to move his, what was his beginning goat herd out onto his own farm. So a wonderful individual success story. And there's many, many more that can be shared and will be shared as a result of the AgVets project. They also have an apiary, and you see, well, not just one, but 17 apiaries and a value-added production there, the Golden Prairie honey. I can say from when we were out visiting at 2 years ago at the FEC conference, we got to do a side trip out to the Save Farm, and part of that took us to Golden Prairie, where we got to sample that local honey, and I can assure you it's quite good. So if you're looking to support a veteran production, I've included a link there. Those make great gifts for holiday giving. But I'm going to lead now to our fiscal year 20 awardees. Congratulations to them. It takes a lot to put together these proposals for federal grants. We recognize that. It takes a lot of effort, time, skill, and sometimes a little luck to be successful. And persistence also never hurts. We had a few of the folks who had previously applied in previous cycles, had been unsuccessful, took the learning from the reviewer comments and came back and were successful in this cycle. So congratulations to all of our awardees. Here they are. What we've done in years past during this particular panel, when we've been in person at FEC conferences, is to bring those individuals up on screen and to be able to share their information. But that's because we had just had 6 grantees each of the past 2 cycles, 17 this go round. You see their names there. It would have been difficult for us to move them all through. What we did ask them to do is put together a slide presentation where they list their objectives, give some overview of their site locations and what it is that they're planning to do and numbers served. And so we gathered that information as a result of the project directors meeting. And if there's a way, again, that organizers of the conference can post that to the website, then we would love to do that. So you can, again, learn a little bit more about each of these projects. And that includes the contact information for their project directors. So you could reach out as either a person of interest that would like to attend their training or one of their apprenticeship programs, or potentially to find out if there's an opportunity to connect with them in some other fashion, learn about what they're doing, especially if it's a shared interest or operation. So I'm going to now give you a slide that shows where our fiscal year 20 grantees fall on the map. And you see that we got pretty good coverage across the entire country with this cohort. This is our third cohort. They joined the fiscal year 18 and 19 grantees, which are depicted here. So again, just think about that. In 3 years, we went from 0 coverage with dedicated educational outreach programs for veterans to now 29 with coverage across a good part of the country. What you see there are some gap areas. I think I saw earlier in the chat when we were getting started that there were a couple folks from Idaho that said they were looking for opportunities within their state and finding one another connect. Well, you see there's space there for you to potentially look toward our program to put together a training center or an educational program there in that state. So, think about that, where those gap areas are. States like California, that's FBC, Center for Land-Based Learning, that are covering a very large state. And a number of these are national in service. So like Farmer Veteran, like our Dairy Grazing Apprenticeship, like Arm to Farm, many of those have multiple locations across the entire country. What we've listed here are their locales in terms of where the home operation is or where the corporate office is based. These are all led by non-governmental organizations. So this is, again, one of those wonderful demonstrations of private-public collaboration in order to meet a taxpayer need and interest. You see our listings from 2019 and 2018. I want to give a shout out to each of them. They came on board yesterday to give an update during the project director meeting about their progress to date. They have just gone gangbusters while also dealing with the realities of the pandemic. Many had to shift their programming, which was originally on-site, on-farm, to a hybrid or a fully virtual experience. And they've been able to pivot and demonstrate amazing flexibility. But we also know that that's created some challenges, especially for recruiting, getting folks who, out to the site locations. And we're trying to be as flexible as possible, like our colleagues at FSA and across the USDA, to recognize that some of these projects, they may need more time because of the challenges associated with the pandemic. I wanted to note that our fiscal year 21 application, again, is on the street. We anticipate about $5 million being available. Proposals are due February 5th. So at this point, there's the entire month of December, the entire month of January to be able to put together a quality proposal. And we encourage you to look at the existing ones and again, where there are particular areas of interest or need. What we're conscious of is that we've got a lot of projects that are looking at diversified operations, row crops, livestock, but we're also interested in projects that are going to be looking at engaging military veterans with differing expertise that could translate to logistics, to artificial intelligence, to drones that can help with precision engineering for farm operations. So again, wherever that skill set might lie, we want to encourage opportunities here through the AgVets program. So be thinking again if you are interested or have partners on the private industry side that potentially would be interested in coming into this program to explore it. If they want to reach out to conversations with myself or Dr. Kyle, then we would welcome those. It was a year ago that I got to address this group and share with folks that NIFA had relocated from Washington, D.C. to Kansas City. And that's the folks, many of which that had just gotten on board. We've been able to regrow our agency back to about 50% of the numbers that we had when we relocated, and we're continuing to hire here at NIFA. So there's also career opportunities available with our agency. Bill Ashton will be happy to hear that NIFA's hiring rate of veterans at the agency itself is now at about 19%. And so, think about that. Two of every, well, 19% of us are military veterans. So that's one final shot that I wanted to conclude with. The World War I Memorial and Museum is based here in Kansas City. So that is looking toward downtown with the memorial in the foreground, downtown in the background. And as you all route through Kansas City, as we are able to travel and gather together again, be sure to make a stop here, pay our respects to our World War I veterans. They just again, paved the way for us to be where we're at. So we stand on some shoulders. The museum is fabulous. The view, obviously, from up the column and the spire, but also in the underneath is all museum, along with those two outbuildings. So it's a remarkable location. I would encourage you to make time to stop if you route through Kansas City. So I'm going to conclude my remarks there again with thank you to Michael, to Jeanette. Welcome aboard. Again, USDA is FVC's partner here to continue to grow opportunities for veterans in agriculture. But most of all, thank you to our veterans for your participation, for joining this fine organization. You heard the numbers of the membership. Well, use that power to bring the positive change that you want to bear. Your numbers will speak, and we will hear. So do not miss that opportunity as you look to also support your own individual operations and professional growth. Thank you.
Brent, thank you so much for that information, and thank you for everything that you all do. As a veteran myself, I really appreciate the programs and services that USDA offers that really focuses on veterans. And if you don't mind, I would like to ask you a few questions if you
Sure.
have time, and Sarah as
Absolutely.
well. Awesome, great. Congratulations, first of all, to the 2020 AgVet awardees. We're very excited to add you to our list of cohort members. And for all of you that are asking about the presentations, they will be available post-conference. We will send out an email letting you know how to access that. And in regards to the new AgVet awardees, we do have a database here at FVC, and we keep all of this information about training programs in this database. So anyone who's interested in programs in their areas can reach out to us, and we will happily refer them to any of the programs that you're learning about today. So Brent, I have a question for you. In terms of the USDA, does the USDA have a presence on active duty military bases? And this is actually a question for both Brent and Sarah. So we'll start with you, Brent.
So I wouldn't say that we necessarily have a presence on active duty. I think you heard Bill Ashton talk about the skill bridge, where there is the opportunity then for individuals that are on active duty to potentially participate through a skill bridge to engage with our department. We do have instances where we have components of cooperative extension that actually go onto military installations to provide educational programming. So when I mentioned our military family programs, and you saw that link for our work at Joint Base San Antonio, in that particular instance, educators from Texas AgriLife Extension are actually going on to provide the DoD and Army required instruction around substance abuse education and prevention. And that occurs on military installations in many areas. I also mentioned the 4-H youth, and so in some instances, those clubs are on the military base, especially Oconus, and in other instances, adjacent to the bases. So like at Fort Riley, Kansas State would typically have a club that would potentially be on base or adjacent.
Wonderful. And Sarah, do you mind answering the same question? Does USDA have any presence on active duty military bases?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we don't necessarily have like a permanent presence, but like Brent mentioned, we do have folks who come out to them. Our field employees and our outreach staff are available and willing to, and frequently do go onto bases and talk to folks about careers in agriculture, or partner with organizations like Extension to offer workshops. And we do have staff who work with local transition staff as well. So our staff are available, and we do have a lot of folks who have not yet transitioned out of the military reach out to our coordinators and try to kind of get help getting started and start navigating those programs. So it really kind of depends, but they are available and do come out to local military installations to talk about USDA and resources and careers in ag.
Excellent, thank you. And you had mentioned TAPs. What kind of work, and this is a question for either Brent or you, Sarah, what kind of work does the USDA do with TAPs specific programs?
So is TAP transition assistance? Is that
Yes.
the reference?
Yes.
Okay. And so in that particular instance, again, from the USDA level, there's been considerable work over the years to help inform the training associated with transition assistance to include a component related to the Department of Agriculture with varying levels of success. And so I would just say that it continues to be an area that we are interested in providing as much support. What we've heard from veterans, as many instances, is like, they didn't know what USDA had to offer, and if they had known sooner, then they could have made some different or more informed choices. And so there's a lot of folks that are trying to get into TAP to take advantage of those opportunities to meet with transitioning service members to be able to offer information. And so it's a limited time, I think, is the biggest challenge. And so we would love to be more engaged, but have to go along with the programming from the DoD side of the house.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
This is
Sarah?
Bill. If I could
Hi,
just,
Bill.
yeah, if I could just add to that TAP. One of the first things the secretary had tasked me 2.5 years ago was, hey, how are we going to get into TAP? At that time, TAP was being taught toward the end of their career for 2 weeks, and working with the Small Business Administration, we were able to get some information put into the TAP program. Since then, the TAP program has actually changed, and there's a requirement for service members who are separate within a year, that a year before they get out, they have to have transition assistance program seminars. That being said, as Brent said, the TAP program is run by 3 executive agencies, federal agencies: Department of Labor, Department of Veterans Affairs, and DoD. And it is almost impossible to get in there and give briefs to our veterans But I will tell you that I spoke at the American Legion mid-year conference here in DC last December. Unbeknownst to me was the Assistant Secretary from the Department of Labor for Veterans. And I left and went back to the office, and about 2 days later got a phone call from his office that he wanted to speak to me. Had no idea why he wanted to talk to me. But he said that there is so much unknown of what USDA has to offer our veterans, and how do we get that in there? And I told him, I said, I can't get into TAP. So he's tasked his people there, and I'm working with them to get part of USDA's information in the TAP program across all transition assistance programs. We're not there yet, but we're working very close for them to be there.
That's great, Bill. I've had some difficulty myself working on our AgVets grant, breaking into the TAPs. It's just been really hard to share our program information that we think would be very helpful to transitioning veterans. Certainly information I wish I had as a transitioning veteran.
Hi,
So
Issa.
I'm glad that you're working on that.
Issa, it's Brent, and I see Love posted in the chat that their program is using both TAPS and DoD Skill Bridge. So maybe we can see if Love can share some additional information about that going forward.
Absolutely. LeVay, you will be hearing from me. Real quick, Sarah, I had a question for you. What are some resources for farmers that are at risk for foreclosure?
So I would say they should talk to their local office. I think this is going to be something that's probably going to have to be handled on a case-by-case basis, and work really closely with their lender if they do have one, that they should be inquiring about any disaster assistance payments that they might be eligible for, any type of servicing flexibilities with their loans, and just generally looking to see what their options are. And I'll make sure that they are checking out CFAP as well, to see if they might be eligible for a payment. This CFAP is a little bit unique because it was also designed to assist producers who are distressed. And so even those who are in the middle of like liquidation or foreclosing, they, depending on the circumstances, they might actually still be eligible for a payment. So I would encourage that individual, that farmer, to work closely with their local office.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And then this question is for any of our panelists. Can one of you explain veteran preference and how it relates to specific USDA programs, and which programs are out there that are specifically for veterans?
So I'll sort of jump in here. USDA has so many different programs, and I mostly work with the agencies that are sort of delivering programs directly to farmers and ranchers. And so while there may not be a specific program for a veteran, there may be some priorities or set aside or flexibilities or additional cost share eligibility. Our programs are for everyone. And we know that like beginning farmers is a really big tent, and it often includes like women in ag or veteran farmers. And so folks may be kind of falling into a number of different priority categories. So there's not necessarily one specific program for veterans. It's about maybe the flexibilities or the different incentives that might be built into the program that they would be eligible for.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. And we do have a question that is kind of aligned with the question I just asked. The USDA has made progress in recognizing veteran status. However, what work has been done to redefine veteran status to change the 10-year limit on that?
So this is Brent. I guess that would be related to Beginning Farmer Rancher Development Program, because that's the one that I know has 10 years or less. And so that would require legislative change by Congress. And so we're part of the executive branch, so we don't actually have any kind of take any kind of stand. We're basically directed by Congress with that authority then to develop the program accordingly. So if that's one where folks wanted it to change, it would be up to you as individuals and collectively as a group to share that information with your policymakers in order to potentially affect that kind of change.
Great. Thank you, Brent. I appreciate that. We may have our next charge. So in addition, Sarah, we had a question about the Coronavirus Food Assistance Program. Are you able to elaborate a little bit more about that, what it entails, how to apply, who's eligible?
Yeah, so this program is designed to be a lot more straightforward than some of our other ones. So even if you've not worked with USDA before, but you're actively farming, you are likely eligible. So there's no requirement that you have worked with us previously. Really, they just, there are some limitations with regards to income eligibility and entities. And so those are kind of vary by type of organization. But there's only really a handful of forms that you need to fill out. You can fill that out online and email it to your local office. You can print it out or put it in a Dropbox. But to get started, I recommend going to farmers.gov/CFAP or calling your local office because they might be able to pre-populate some of those forms for you. And if you're already working with USDA, they likely have a lot of the information that's needed on file. And so they can just help you fill out the rest of that application. But there are lots of really great resources online. I see somebody shared a YouTube link. We've got some instructional videos, but farmers.gov/CFAP is sort of the clearinghouse for everything. There's links to webinars and videos on how to apply, FAQs that are constantly being updated. There's an application portal, all the forms are there. So I recommend that as the best place to get started or with your local office.
Thank you, Sarah, for that. And we just have a question. Putting on a virtual conference has obviously raised a question that I feel like the USDA has probably been aware of for a while now. Broadband issues in rural areas. I know that this isn't necessarily aligned with your specific programs, but maybe Bill, could you provide some insight as to what the USDA is doing to help farmers that are in rural areas have access to broadband?
Yeah, absolutely. In my weekly, and if people are interested in rural development, has a reconnect program that I would say probably over the last 2 to 3 months, there's probably been hundreds of $millions in either grants or matching funds that have been sent out from USDA throughout the country to increase broadband, obviously throughout, specifically in rural areas. Also, rural development has a telehealth program that we're reaching out to people also. And I can get those two websites that are available if there's interest by anyone to you.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so much. It's definitely one thing that we obviously took into consideration when hosting this event virtually, and in our way of alleviating that terrible experience with internet connectivity is by offering these presentations post the conference so that our members can download the presentations and view them whenever their internet is working, because I live out in the country and I have that same issue. So just wrapping up.
Issa, can I jump in real quick on that broadband piece?
Absolutely.
I just posted in the chat the Southern Rural Development Center that also receives funding through NIFA has a group called the National Digital Education Extension Team. And so they're working more on the adoption and uptake of broadband than they are on the access side. So, where we've got the other dollars potentially going through rural development, our side of the house is really focused on adoption and, being able to utilize it when you do have the access. So I've just dropped that link in just as a note for folks that, again, if they are looking for help or assistance, especially around adoption, then to potentially reach out to their local extension office.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Brent. I appreciate that. I wanted to ask one final question. If any of our panelists have any other information they would like to share, this would be your opportunity to do so. All right. Otherwise, we thank you so much for joining us. We're very happy to work closely with the USDA, and we appreciate that everything the USDA is doing for veterans. And for our attendees, we have a 30-minute break now. So just remember to log back into your breakout sessions, which start at 10:45 Pacific time. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.